The Dorkening and all affiliated shows are not intended for anyone under the age of 18. The following may contain discussions or scenes that have adult situations, graphic violence, nudity, strong sexual content, and graphic language. This show is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised.
The following episode has been brought to you by the Dorkening Podcast Network and is sponsored by Deadly Grounds Coffee.
3, 2, 1.
And now, you're tuned into the Navarro-Miller Report, featuring the hottest in news, entertainment, sports, and all those topics for the mainstream audience. The Navarro-Miller Report.
Examine your reality.
I can't even talk right now. Welcome, everybody, to the Navarro-Miller Report. I'm your host, Dave Navarro.
And I'm Jeremy Miller.
I keep forgetting to hit that freaking button every single time.
Fine with me. The less I have to hear you, the better.
That's so sweet. It's so nice to see you. The hurricane didn't affect you any at all?
No, not a bit. We were actually very, very lucky, very, very blessed. It did hit a lot of areas pretty bad, especially areas that had been, recently burn scarred from the fires and stuff like that. But luckily, me and most of my loved ones were far away from those areas. So,
we had a
hurricane to anybody who was affected.
We had a hurricane too to make
I know. A hurricane. It was interesting. We felt it where we were. It was located up near Ohio, which isn't too far from us. It's only about an hour and a half away, from where my mom stays and where we spend half our time. But it wasn't too bad. I mean, I'm an LA vet. I mean, if it's 5 or under, I don't even bother getting up off the couch. So
yeah, I agree. I wholeheartedly agree with that. I mean, it was the craziest thing because I was actually just chilling on my bed and all of a sudden I started feeling like this like weird little wave. And I'm looking around because usually when that happens, it's because my cat just like jumps on my bed. So I look around and I'm like, my cat's not here. And it still continued on. And I was like, and then I see like these hangers that I have hung on in the freaking, I forgot what the hell it's called, but I see them start shaking, swaying back and forth. I was like, oh, this is an earthquake. I was like, this is no bullshit. This is an earthquake now. It's on. So that was fun. That was a fun time.
Joni was not terribly happy. She's like, wait a second, not both. She's like, I traded hurricanes for earthquakes when I moved from Texas, to California. She's like, now I got both. Really? She was not a happy. Yeah, well, we didn't know that at the time, did we?
True. Well, wanted to welcome everybody to the show and to the stream. Thanks for joining us here on the stream right now. And we also, aside from that, it was the hurricane came and went. And last night, actually, we went about our daily lives, and including last night, where Joni invited me, not you, because you try to avoid me as much as possible, but your lovely fiance Joni invited me to tag along with you guys yesterday for the induction of the Transformers into the Hollywood Museum, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was a blast last night. It was so cool to see all the memorabilia. They brought in multiple cars. They had one of the cars from Rise of the Beast. They had the Bumblebee Camaro. It was really, really badass.
Yeah, I was enjoying it wholeheartedly. I was like, dude, this is freaking awesome. I'm like, I loved it. I loved it, dude. Like, especially seeing Bumblebee.
Dude, you know how much I love the Hollywood Museum anyway. They have so much cool stuff there. I can't wait to get to go back with you when we go to the other floors.
Yeah.
There are 4 floors plus a basement that are just filled with some of the best exhibits you can see. If you guys are in the LA area and you haven't been to the Hollywood Museum, you got to go. And if you're coming into town, trust me, it's one of those tourist things you're going to want to do. If you're a fan of Hollywood at all and movies and TV, you got to go.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm there and I'm like a kid in the candy store looking
Oh
at.
yeah.
I was like, oh, I remember this TV show. Oh, that movie. Are you kidding me? This from the movie? It's so much fun. It's like it's really a lot of fun to actually even go back and seeing a lot of the old stuff on there. I mean, it just like a lot of memories. And
Mhm.
again, I asked you this question last night. And I'm gonna ask it, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers are also asking the same thing. When will they be inducting Growing Pains into the Hollywood Museum? Because honestly, that show, and I'm not talking about a specific cast member, none of that. I'm talking about the show as a whole. The entire cast and everything deserve to be inducted into the Hollywood Museum because that show, and I hate giving you compliments, that show is many of our childhoods. I mean, we watched that growing up. I mean, we loved the show. I barely tolerated your character. But other than that, the show as a whole is just amazing. We want to see it. I mean, I'm sure I speak for a lot of the fans of Growing Pains. We would love to see Growing Pains be inducted into the Hollywood Museum.
Well, I have gotten to know the head of the museum very well over the years that I've been a supporter of the Hollywood Museum. I've been going to these events and supporting and helping to promote it. So we have talked about it. We've talked about possibly doing an Alan tribute, something specifically to Alan since he passed. And because he was so iconic in all of television, his ill-fated talk show, which was actually really good. It's just they stuck him against Johnny Carson. And, Alan's favorite joke always was they always said no one could beat Carson, and I was the man they hired to prove it. And that's basically, that's what happened. But he had a great talk show. He wrote the theme songs to some of the most iconic shows on television.
Yep.
Facts of Life, Different Strokes. He wrote numerous jingles that you would know. He helped write numerous other, theme songs. So we're talking about it, whether we do, whether I help them put together a tribute to Alan first, and then we move on and do a Growing Pains tribute, or if they decide, if the museum decides that they want to do a Growing Pains tribute first, it will be coming. I do not know a time frame. My guess would be sometime in the next year or two, because it will take a while to get as much memorabilia as we can. I got to call all the cast and see what they still have on hand. I got to try and track down producers and people who may have things, ex-wardrobe people, all that stuff. It's going to take a while once they give me the green light, but it is in talks, and Growing Pains will be there at some point soon.
I mean, I gotta tell you, it happens. I'm gonna cry. I am most definitely gonna cry. I'm gonna be teary-eyed when I'm there, because I know I'm gonna end up being there one way or another. Not invited by you, of course, but by Joey. So I mean, I'm gonna be there, and I'm gonna cry, dude. Like if I see that, I'm gonna definitely get emotional when I see when it happens, because it will happen. I know it will happen.
It'll be a serious honor when Growing Pains is given its spot in the museum. That place is such a special place, and there's so many iconic shows, and to be included in that would be an amazing honor. I may shed a tear too. I can tell you, if they do an Alan tribute, I'll definitely be a mess. That's not even a question. But
I mean, and I just want to say that we do have people that are agreeing. I mean, we have JC that's saying, that's saying that actually that's not the that's the wrong one. Is that oh my god, there's just so many comments right now. There we go, I found it. JC saying, Dave Navarro, you're dead on. They should add stuff from Growing Pains, absolutely. You also have Carl McDonald saying, I totally agree. And you have Joe saying, I was about the same age as little Ben. So, and of course, you have your lovely fiance saying, preach, Dave Navarro. So, I mean, everybody agrees. We all agree that should, in fact, happen.
Well, like I said, it has been discussed. Donnell Dadigan, who is the amazing head of the museum, her and I have had many discussions about this, and it will be coming at some point. So it's really an honor, and I can't wait to see it. It'll take some time, like I said, to put together, but it will be coming soon.
And I also wanted to go ahead and welcome TikTok, because we are also live on TikTok. I can't forget the TikTok peeps out there. So welcome everybody to the show as well. We also, Michael also commented saying, great idea, Jeremy. Alan Thicke was an amazing person. Kindly let us know.
Absolutely. No, whenever I get any news on this, you guys will definitely be the first to know, when the exhibit would be open or when they're planning on adding it to the museum.
And also, Carl says, if it happens, Jeremy, send them one of the extra caricatures.
Oh, absolutely. I still have them. I still have the one I had and the copy. And I gave Kirk one last time I saw him, Carl. And I haven't seen Tracy and Joanna in a bit, but next time I see them, I'll be giving them theirs too. Carl did the most amazing caricature of the cast, and then an individual of us as well. And it was just so freaking cool. He's really talented. So yeah, that's something that I'm actually going to, present them and see if they want to put up as well.
Nice.
And, but there's some classic things. I'm hoping to get maybe, Kirk's iconic leather bomber jacket.
Yeah, there's he always wore all the time on the show. I remember that.
There's many different things that were kind of classic for the characters, or for different scenes from the home. So there's certain things I have my mind set on that I'd love to be able to get a hold of if we can track them down.
Real quick, and I hate to have to go ahead and say this, I have no choice. One Nation on TikTok is saying, USC, woohoo, Jeremy, fight on. I can't even say
Fight on, One Nation. Game day tomorrow. I will be there for opening day.
Oh, God. There's gonna be like what? Maybe there's gonna like the seats are gonna be like empty, right? I'm pretty sure because everybody hates USC.
Yeah, Heisman Trophy winner returning, and
no, whatever. Okay, whatever. Moving on. I hate you all. Anyways, moving on to some, again, wonderful time last night. Had a blast. Transformers, that was really cool to watch, and it was great to see a lot of. It was a star-studded event. We had a lot of people, a lot of different celebrities were in there. Besides yourself, I mean, we had people from Young and the Restless. Maria Conchita Alonso was there. Mm-hmm. I mean, we had a lot of people that were there to honor the Transformers being inducted into the Hollywood Museum.
There's a lot of people who support the museum. It is such a important part of Hollywood history and preserving all of that. So the amount of stars that come out to, support these events is always huge. And, they're people that I've known for many, many years. And it's always just a bit of old home week getting to catch up with everybody.
Nice. It was actually really cool. I actually saw a few people that I met the last time I was there, so that was a lot of fun to actually see them all again. But moving on to some cool stuff right here for the podcast, as we always have it. Everybody on TikTok may or may not know this. Anybody new that's watching us right now, I go ahead and submit Jeremy to Blind Reacts of TikTok because he claims he doesn't want to be on TikTok, although he has a page on there at the real Jeremy Miller. Whatever. So go ahead, make sure you follow him. Make sure all of you follow him. He will get on there. I can guarantee it. He may say no, but he secretly wants to. I can tell he wants to. I know it. Join us, Jeremy. Join all of us. Anyways, we got some blind reacts for this one in particular. And Jeremy, I told you about this yesterday, but I couldn't really describe it to you. Well, I had to show it to you. This particular TikTok has to do with the intelligence of a person and a tire. Check it out.
Okay, so if this is where it's leaking, then why isn't this flat and it's flat down there?
I had to show you that one because, well, Jeremy, what are your thoughts? I can't. Evil, dude.
That is terribly frightening. Somebody can't figure that out.
The comments were hilarious.
Oh, I'm sure people were going insane on that. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, given there's some people who just don't know anything about cars, but basic common sense should tell you the pressure of the car pushing down on the tire is what causes it to be flat. Down there's no pressure up top. It's a very common sense kind of a thing you would hope somebody could kind of just look at and understand, but apparently not.
I blame it on
God, I'm so worried about the future of
I think El Nino had something to do with that.
Dude, I'm telling you, our species is going extinct on a very fast scale. Oh my goodness.
I blame society. Oh, Carl had the best response to that one. Florida woman? That was the best response.
Oh, and Meg's not on to defend herself.
Actually, no. Meg is actually watching a little bit. She's from Florida. She's from Tallahassee. So that was the best response. So I love it. Oh my God. Moving on to another one. This next one has to do with a pilot messing with his passengers on a plane and making them a little bit nervous with some of the things he said on the speaker. Check it out.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. This is your pilot, Muhammad Ali Abdullah Ibrahim. We just want to thank you for flying Southwest. This is your last flight. All other flights are grounded after this one for the night. We do have bombs on the plane. Bombs Burgers is sponsoring the flight, so please enjoy the burger on us. Once we get in California, there'll be another 9/11, maybe 12% chance of rain. So please fasten your seatbelts and get ready.
That's just wrong. That's just wrong. It's like, oh, the pilot's playing way too much. He's playing way too much with the feelings of these people. I can't.
Personally, I have a very dark sense of humor. I would have found that brilliant. I would have been dying, rolling in my seat, absolutely dying. But let me go to the other side of that. There are still people who are very traumatized by those events.
Yeah.
People who have a lot of repressed feelings and who are could be very triggered by something like that. And honestly, it's one of those things where I would understand if they were. So that's crossing the line a little bit. I have a dark sense of humor. I would have been dying laughing.
Oh yeah. Oh, most definitely. But the reaction on the passengers was like, wait, what? Wait, what is supposed to like? And when we get to Los Angeles, will be another 9/11, maybe 12%.
I would have been dying. I think I would have been falling out of my chair. I had one pilot one time who he was messing a little bit. He was just doing his thing, but he was doing some of the instructions because it was a smaller plane. So it wasn't the actual flight attendant doing the instructions. And he basically said something along the lines of, if you have to fasten your seatbelt like this, and if you can't figure it out, it's usually where they say, ask a flight attendant for help. Yeah. And he basically just said, if you can't figure it out, well, you're kind of just asked out since, it's been like, if you can't figure this out at this point, you're just asked out. And went on through this whole spiel. He's like, if we start losing cabin pressure and we have to put it down, bend over, call your loved ones, and kiss your ass goodbye. Everybody in my row was just like on the floor. We were dying. Absolutely dying.
I had a flight attendant do something like that. Actually, I had a pilot say something like that on my way to Vegas. And then we got One Nation saying he said Southwest really well, all other stuff. Oh my God, you gotta love these TikToks. This next one has to do with a married couple that the husband's just trying to go ahead and show other husbands how to defend himself if his wife decides to, attack. Well, just go ahead and check it out.
Okay. I'm going to give you some tips just in case you piss off your wife. Come here. First of all, make sure she's within striking distance. Secondly, she's going to attack, so you block out. No, out. Okay, stop. Okay, she's going to attack. You're going to block. Out. No. You're doing this wrong. Okay, you're not doing it right. Look, if you listen to me, I win.
What the fuck?
Bro. Okay. I'm going to give you some tips.
Sorry. She's hit him with the chancla one last time for good measure.
I was going to say chancla power, baby.
Oh my God.
I know nothing about that. I don't need that. My beautiful is so sweet. I that is, that's somebody else.
Jeremy, blink twice if you're in trouble. Oh, you're dead. You're so dead.
I know she's gonna kill me.
Oh yeah, folks. If we don't see Jeremy Miller next Friday on next Friday's show, we'll know why.
I'll start leaving like Chris Titus, when he was a kid and knew his dad was pissed. Start leaving messages. I am not in China.
Oh.
Look for the body.
Well, it's actually funny. Joni is actually joining me on TikTok.
Oh boy.
And she went ahead and said, "Hey, I know where you sleep."
I didn't say nothing.
Oh my God, I can't do this anymore. At the One Society on TikTok is saying better than her leaving a present on the bed. That's just
Amber Heard reference.
yeah, that's an Amber Heard reference if I ever heard one.
Oh God. But
Thank you. I'll be here for another few minutes. Anyways, moving on to some weird and outlandish news. I actually found one that was actually very interesting today. As I'm scrolling through TikTok, I'm sorry, TikTok. I got TikTok on the brain right now. As I'm scrolling through Puberty, at Puberty on Instagram, I noticed that there was a story having to do with aliens. And as we all know, that's a really hot topic for many people right now. And according to at Puberty, it says, a NASA scientist says she's absolutely certain there's alien life in our solar system, and they're most likely hiding in Venus. I'm sure she probably meant Uranus, but anyways, according to Dr. Sorry, I had
to go there.
To go there. According to Dr. Michelle Thaler, a research scientist at the space agency at the Goddard Space Flight Center, she's certain our little green friends have set up shop on the second planet from the sun, where the conditions are unbearable for humans. She says, quote, "I never expected Venus. Venus is now one where we see something in the atmosphere that looks very much like it could be produced by bacteria," she said. She continued on to say, "I think it's only a matter of time until we have proof that it's in the solar system," Dr. Thaler said, while speaking about collecting evidence to confirm life beyond Earth. And this comes actually just days after. Well, we'll get into that one in a second. But first, I want to hear your opinion, Jeremy, because I know your brain's probably like rolling right now with thoughts about this at this time.
Not so much rolling. It's really just one thing. You know, whenever I hear a scientist say they are certain, it makes me laugh, because there is no certainty in science. And any real scientist will admit that.
It's all probability.
It's all probability and seeing things test out. But every theory which ends up being proven, still has a chance at being disproven or proven that there's more to the story.
Mm-hmm.
There's a very famous scene in Friends where Phoebe basically rips Ross apart about his belief that there is no, possibility besides evolution, all this. And, she breaks it down how scientists at one point were certain that the atom was the smallest thing in the, universe until they broke it open and found all this other crap, so on and so forth. So science can only be as certain as the information at the time allows it to be. And that's why scientific knowledge is always evolving and changing. So it makes me laugh when I hear a scientist say that they are certain, because there is no certainty in science. There's always more to learn. There's always more will be revealed.
I mean, scientifically, I'm certain I can't stand you.
That's not scientific. That's just, an emotional response. You just love me so much. You have to find a way to lash out.
I'm pretty certain I can't stand your team. I can tolerate you. I can't stand your team. I'm certain of that. That is a fact.
That's a fact. There's no scientific process to prove that.
Anyways, it's actually funny. It also says it's actually funny because this comes 3 days after scientists went ahead and they believed that the aliens would contact Earth 3 days ago, because it marks 40 years since astronomers Miyamoto and Hirabayashi sent messages to star Altair awaiting alien response. Now, the messages they sent were little drawings it was just actually funny drawings of human evolution, how we started from a little like atom and then grew, and evolved to, Homo sapiens, etc., and into humans, etc. Obviously, we didn't get any response back. Aliens probably were like, new solar system, who dis? I decided to go the other direction.
You know my theory, man. I have never said that I don't believe that there's life out there. I mean, there's so much space that we can't even see, that we can't explore, that we don't even have a clue what's out there. It would be arrogant to believe that we are the only life,
Of course.
Anywhere. But at the same time, we are such a train wreck. Why would they want anything to do with us, man? I mean, seriously, unless, as we've talked about before, unless we're just like their reality show, they just show up occasionally to watch the freaking drama and mess that we create. I can't see them wanting to have much to do with the human race.
I agree. I mean, either that or, literally, we're like a petri dish that's gone wrong. Like really, really wrong.
It's like the line in Men in Black. Tommy Lee Jones has the little translator that he's shown to Will Smith. He's like, we're not even supposed to have this in most enlightened galaxies.
Human thought is
so primitive. It's considered an infectious disease.
Yeah, no, it's bad.
That's how I would, think that any highly intelligent life, it's been living out in space for Lord knows how long, would probably view us.
Oh, and I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, case in point, at the One Society saying it's all about the probing. Done with TikTok. I can't do this anymore. I keep saying that, but I keep coming back, and I'm going to bring you with me, Jeremy. Bring you with me. I'm saying we got some more awesome stuff to talk about with you guys today in entertainment news. But before we get into that, we have some messages from our wonderful sponsors coming up next.
Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. There's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds coffee is my guilty pleasure. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds coffee. Coffee to die for and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. Use the front door! Oh, they're so disgusting.
I swear, I think the aliens saw that commercial and were like, haha, funny. We'll just turn the other way.
I'm sorry, the commercial makes me smile and chuckle every single time.
Hey, use the front door. Oh, they're so disgusting. I like that part. That's one of my favorite parts, I'll be honest. In entertainment news today, actually this week, Matthew McConaughey's wife, Camila Alves, recalls that she used to butt heads with Matthew McConaughey's mother. And she was actually on the Biscuits and Jam podcast, and she went ahead and I actually wanted to talk about this on the radio show, but I got cut out of time and there was no way I could talk about this. I'll dive more into this, so I'm happy I was able to save it for the podcast instead. She basically recalled how Matthew McConaughey's mother used to do certain things early on in their relationship when she was dating Matthew. She said, quote, "She did all these things when I first came in the picture. She was really testing me. I mean, really testing me. She would call me by all of Matthew's ex-girlfriend's names. She would start speaking Spanish with me in a very broken way, kind of putting me down a bit. I mean, all kinds of stuff. Then she tried to connect with his mother by bringing her along to one of her shoots in Istanbul. And she said that the whole way there, the whole plane ride to Istanbul, she was telling me all these stories and putting all these things in my head. Enough that when we landed, I was like, okay, all right, let me buckle up. Let me get ready for this situation. And then about day 3, I was taking her to her room and she got into this whole other thing that it's not my place to share. And she starts crying and I'm like, oh my gosh, Mom Mac, feeling so sorry. She continues. And as I put her to bed, I look at her and I'm like, oh my gosh, she's full of shit. So I just flip out on her and brought my spicy Brazilian Latin side and I let her have it. So I went back at her and we had it back and forth. And then at the end, she just looked at me and she was like, okay, now you're in. She says all she wanted was for me to fight back. So in essence, Matthew's mom was testing her to see if she actually had enough of gumption to be able to fight back, because in Matthew's line of work, in her line of work, she needs to be a strong woman to have Matthew's back in anything, in any backlash. And I think that I'm just assuming here. I'm not saying that this is the case, but judging by what she's saying, I think Mama Mac was trying to go ahead and see, is this woman going to be strong enough to take on, the responsibility of handling all of what Matthew has behind him?
It makes sense to me. I mean, I've known many people, many friends who have had issues with in-laws at the beginning of the relationship, throughout the relationship. A lot of times these things, rectify themselves. Sometimes, like in this case, they're just testing them. I had a friend who was from a very, very wealthy family. I'm not going to name names, but you guys would recognize the family name. And basically his dad would offer any girl that, he was getting serious about money to go away just to see if they'd take it.
I think I remember this. Yeah.
Just to see if they were for real. It's not that he disliked them or anything else, but he would offer them an exorbitant amount of money just to see if they'd leave. And, he had a couple takers. But some parents feel the need to, test people. I don't technically agree with that personally. I think it's a little manipulative. I think you just get to know somebody as you get to know them. And I don't agree with the whole manipulating somebody into doing something like that to prove something to you. But some people feel the need. But in-law relationships can be interesting. I mean, when I first started dating Joni, and we're doing the long distance,
I was about to ask you that too. Yeah.
Joni's parents, extremely conservative. We've talked about this before. Her father's pastor, mom's pastor's wife. I mean, extremely conservative. I mean, I've said it before. Her dad makes John Lithgow's character in Footloose look like a wild man.
Yep.
So they're just extreme. So, I mean, one of the very first times I met them, her dad kind of took me aside. I know, I'm like, okay, it's time for the talk. And, he basically asked me, told me that, are you going to be able to, get her to dress proper and do this? And am I going to, make her do this and that and the other thing? I just kind of looked at him. I was like, have you met your daughter? Makes her do anything. Right?
Nope.
Have you not figured that out yet?
It's like, if you guys couldn't make her do anything, what makes you think I will?
That was my response. And, we've always had a good relationship, and I know how to talk to her parents. I'm able to reason with them in a way that she's not, because it's emotional and they know how to push her buttons. All parents know how to push our buttons because they installed them.
Oh yeah.
So,
oh yeah.
They did the installation. They still know where they are.
That's very true. That's very true. Joe is saying nobody puts baby in a corner. That's very true. Those are true facts right there. JC is saying right now, Joni Miller, if you need a wedding singer when you two tie the knot, I'd be honored.
Thank you, JC. That's very sweet, man.
I was actually wondering about Mom. Because Mom and Joni get along very, very well. Was there any type of friction or any type of doubt at all? Because moms are always going to be protective of their cubs. Mm-hmm. I know that if my mom were alive today, it's so funny. My mom, and I'm just not wanting to digress or anything, but it's interesting because my mom never actually interfered with any of my relationships. Mm-hmm. And the only reason why is because she knew not to, because I knew when the person I'm dating would cross the line. And that happened. And my mom, she would just for me to actually want to be with the person I want to be with, they have to get along with my mom. That was the number one rule. Mm-hmm. And the person I was with, there was only one time that I was dating a girl that totally dismissed my mom, would ignore her, not even want to bond with her or anything. I gave her a chance the first time. I thought maybe, okay, she's having an off day. You got to give people the benefit of the doubt. She did it again the second time. There was not a third. Mm-hmm. That was the bottom line. And my mom You remember how my mom was?
Oh,
Sweetest, kindest, dearest person.
love her instantly.
I mean, that was her. That was who she was. How could you not love that woman? And the moment that happened, I was like, you're done. My mom, all she did was smile. She's like, okay. That's all she did. She didn't have to do it because she knew damn well what I would do. She knew what I would do. She knew that it wouldn't take much. That's how she was, because she knew who she raised.
I was very blessed in that my mom saw how Joni had basically saved my life. You know, I mean, I was not in a great place, hated all women. I mean, not hated all women, but for a relation, I mean, I was not interested in dating. You know, women are evil and just want to destroy you. You know, I was not in a good place when I met Joni. And the funny thing is, my mom called it. I think I've told you this story before. Before I went to New Orleans, my little brother was getting very serious with his girl at the time and was talking about proposing to her. And I basically just like laughed. I was like, heck, good luck with that. And she looked at me and said, you know what? You're coming back from New Orleans with a woman. The hell I am. And sure enough, I did. And
they know.
Mom really got to know Joni the first summer we were together. I've told you I brought Joni and the boys out to California to stay with us and to do all the, you know, touristy things and just to spend time together. And I think 1 or 2 week trip turned into almost 6.5 weeks. And we just had a wonderful time. And at the end of the trip, Mom just had a little card that she kind of slipped her that basically said, thank you for making my son so happy.
That's awesome.
So, you know, from day one, Mom could see the changes. She could see how happy Joni made me. And, you know, my mom, that's all she ever wanted.
And it's crazy because even my mom told me how her interaction with my grandmother was. Mind you, they never met until my dad took us when I was 6 years old down to El Salvador to meet my family, because we hadn't seen him. Like, my dad hadn't seen him in years. He hadn't been to El Salvador in years. And he figured this would be a good opportunity for him to introduce my grandmother to me, to my mom, because they never met. Instant love the moment they met. They both got along so well. my mom tells me the story because the thing is, as a 6-year-old, I didn't know that much Spanish. And of course, it's a Spanish-speaking country. So I used to talk to my mom in English. She would respond to me in Spanish. That's the reason why I became so very well-versed bilingually. And my grandma started talking to me in Spanish, and I looked at my grandma, and I'm like, Grandma, you need to go to school and learn English. 6 years old. But the moment that I embarrassed my mom wasn't that. My mom used to have this saying in Spanish, tu abuelita, which means, your grandmother. She said that in front of my grandmother. And my grandma, she just looked at my mom's like, so your grandmother, huh? My mom turned bright red. She was so embarrassed. And my mom, she was like, you see the trouble you got me in?
Oh, that's awesome. Great story.
Oh my
yeah,
God.
you know, at the interpersonal relationships with families and in-laws and all that kind of stuff, it can be very, very, very difficult.
Very tricky.
You know, I'm speaking from experience as well. And, you know, that my oldest son, you know, all about that. And there's some in-law issues there and so on. So, you know, it's variable. I'm glad that it worked out for them. I'm glad that, you know, Matt's mom was only kind of testing her and looking to see if she was for real and if she could stand up for herself. But, you know, in general, I don't recommend, you know, trying to manipulate somebody to get a result you want.
And according to Camila, after that, everything was smooth sailing after that. They have had nothing but an incredible relationship with one another.
That's awesome.
She loves her mother. Her mother-in-law loves her. I mean, all is well. Everything's well. Everything worked out perfectly. That's all the mom wanted to know. She had the balls to stand up to her, and she got her response, and that's all she wanted. That's all she wanted.
Very cool. I'm glad it all worked out.
In other entertainment news, obviously we all know the issue going on with Michael Oher and, you know, The Blind Side, and how he claims that he was under conservatorship, how, you know, he kind of got screwed out of, you know, making any money off of The Blind Side. Now he's talking about some inaccuracies that happened in the movie. But according to producers of The Blind Side, there were no inaccuracies. They went ahead and posted a statement saying, quote, "We feel it is now important for us to respond to some recent media reports, which include many mischaracterizations and uninformed opinions. The impetus for these stories has been a lawsuit by Michael Orr, which seems to have given critics and journalists alike a justification to unfairly pick apart." Oh, I'm sorry. My thing refreshed. I hate it when it does that. To unfairly pick apart the movie 14 years later, some going so far as to call it fake or a lie. They went ahead to basically say that the film will never be a lie or fake. That was the bottom line that they went ahead and said. Now, obviously, in many movies, there's going to be discrepancies. Not everything's going to be, down the middle or anything like that, because if it's a biopic of somebody's life, there's going to be certain things that, obviously are going to be off. But I don't know. I think Michael Orr either is trying to remain relevant in the spotlight, or is trying to find a cash out, or is telling the truth. It could be any of these things.
Mm-hmm. That's the thing. We just don't know at this point. It is so much of a he said, she said. I don't even know how much we'll know for sure once this goes to trial and more facts start coming out. But what I can say is I've been around enough book adaptations, biography adaptations, and things like that to know that unless you want to make a 6 to 7 hour film, events have to be condensed. Sometimes characters have to be condensed. There are sometimes characters who do something in a film, a biography pick, that they didn't do. It was a completely other character or a completely other person in the true story, but they didn't have enough, time to introduce that other person. Mm-hmm. That's just the writing process of this. So I can understand when the producers and the writers say that this will never be a lie, because what they're trying to do when you do these films is get the overall feel and overall picture across. Mm-hmm. Some smaller details are always going to be, like I said, condensed, nixed, changed. Some things are changed for dramatic effect because it needs it for the film. I can tell you right now that, in putting together the film, the script adaptation for the book that I wrote with Dr. Brandon for When I Wished Upon a Star, there is going to be a lot of things that are not exactly accurate. To put all of that information into a 2-hour film is very difficult. So I can see where he would be coming from. He may be completely correct that, these things were totally off and false, but there may have been reasons why they wrote them that way. Trying to make sure they fit as much of the important details into the story as they could. So this is a really messy situation. I honestly, there's no side to pick because we don't know anything. The fact that the Toohey family, who is the family that was his conservators, have offered to end the conservatorship or whatever it was and end it outright with no battle and no problems, can mean one of two things. It can mean that there's nothing left for them to gain by doing it, or that, they never meant for this to be a bad thing and they were only trying to help. And now that he views it as a problem, they're willing to get rid of it. We just don't know. All I know is this is a total mess. I feel bad for all of them because there's obviously a lot of grievances on both sides. There's a lot of hurt on both sides right now, and it just sucks.
And especially like if you watch the movie, the amount of love that was in that family in that movie, and now it's really heartbreaking to see something like this. It's always money. It's always money that has to do with it every single time. It always has to do with money, and that's tragic. That it has to do with that. We have Joe actually is mentioning something about, and you've seen this movie. I haven't seen it yet. I felt that Weird Al Yankovic biopic was a bit exaggerated.
Well, the Weird Al pick was complete. It was done that way on purpose. They embellished everything. He never outsold Michael Jackson in those days. He wasn't the one who came up with the Beat It. He didn't come up with Eat It before Michael Jackson did.
He never even married or dated Madonna either, right?
Well, we don't know that. I mean, Madonna was kind of dating everybody at that time. We have
Sure.
no proof whether that happened or not.
Sure.
But there was a lot that was, I mean, that's the way they wanted to tell the story because his life was so outlandish. They wanted to just blow it. So, I mean, there were very few facts that were accurate in that movie because they exaggerated almost everything on purpose.
Well, and now Joe's saying LL, yes, was being
Oh,
sarcastic.
got it.
Know that? How are we supposed to know that?
Well, it's
Joe?
hard to know in text. Sarcasm doesn't come across quite as well.
JC actually went ahead and said Orr is a limelight addict. Excuse the vernacular. The film was based on the real story, and he's just out to get in on its popularity more than the film brought in when it first premiered.
JC, I don't know if we know enough about this yet to make that kind of call. Honestly, my feeling leans a little bit towards that just after seeing some of the interviews, body language, the way they're talking about it. I kind of lean that way, but I don't think we have enough facts to come to that conclusion yet. I really don't. We don't know enough about these people. They haven't lived their life in the limelight. We don't know what was done and what wasn't done at this point. But my inclination would be to agree with you, but I don't think we're at a point where we can really say that.
Well, I guess
that's just my opinion.
Well, like you said, we're just gonna have to wait and find out what happens with the results of everything, with the trial, if it goes to trial, and unless there's a settlement somewhere between now and then, but I don't think there's gonna be a settlement. I think they're gonna go to trial for this. So
I don't see how there could really be a settlement. The family's already said that, they only made this much money off of it. It was not millions and millions and millions of dollars like he has claimed. They've been willing to open up the books and show what they actually, got out of it. So I don't know where these millions that he would be trying to get would come from.
Well, we'll just have to wait and see and find out. In other entertainment news, movies and TV shows affected by the strike. Obviously, we still know that Screen Actors Guild and Writers Guild of America are both still on strike. How long is it now? Like how long? Like
writers have been over 120 days, I think, at this point, and I think it's coming up on 120 days, or we just passed it. And the actors joined almost 2 months ago now, so I think we're at 7 weeks for the actors. So it's this has really slowed things down. I have a lot of friends that are, as I've told you, from every actors, writers, cameramen, lighting guys, prop guys, friends I've had for years who aren't working. There are some shows that were able to kind of finagle around it because they weren't having new stuff written for them, different types of shows, but even those are starting to go down now. They're starting to go dark. So this is affecting the entire industry. And at some point, these streaming companies are going to run out of content. It's saving their bottom line at the moment, but they're losing money hand over fist on projects that they've already greenlit, projects they've already put money into that are just sitting dead and stagnant now. So this is hurting the entire industry. And at some point, it's going to get painful enough that both sides are going to have to start making some concessions.
According to the AssociatedPress.com, it says right here, quote, late night talk shows and many television productions were put on long-term hiatus due to the writer's strike. Movie tent poles, some in mid-production have shut down too, from Ridley Scott's Gladiator sequel to Deadpool 3. And studios are also pushing some of their completed films into 2024 as well. On Thursday, Warner Brothers reshuffled several films, notably moving Dune 2 from November to March 2024. The studio also shifted the release date of a Lord of the Rings movie that will now arrive in theaters in December 2024.
Yeah, this is creating a giant mess. And as I've said, I'm not looking, as an actor, I'm not looking for the, the producers, not the producers, but, the big production houses to give the actors absolutely everything they ask for. But the original proposal that was done, or at least the last proposal that was done before the strike, was an incredibly reasonable document. It really was. And it seems to me the only reason that they would reject something like that is because, again, they're being greedy. They've had it very good for 15 years now with all the streaming. They've been making insane amounts of money without having to pay the people who actually gave them that product. Now they don't want to have to pay for it. They want to keep that sweetheart deal going. And that's just not going to happen. That's going to have to change. But they don't have to give everything. A good negotiation is when both sides end up unhappy. And that's what's going to have to happen to get this all moving again, because right now they are still very far apart from what I'm hearing. And, we're in this for the long haul. So it's just bad all the way around. The people I feel the worst for, I mean, I feel bad for everybody. A lot of people think that, oh, you actors, they all get paid so much and they're making this and that. No, there's, freaking, I think it's something like 7% of SAG makes the top 1%. Those are the people making millions. The other 93% are struggling. They're the ones who make, just enough to get by and have to hustle. And right now they have nothing coming in. Everybody's hurting. Makeup artists do not get paid a heck of a lot. Hairstylists, wardrobe people, they're not making millions to do a project. They're not even making hundreds of thousands of dollars to do a project. They're making normal wage money. And now that's gone. I mean, everybody's hurting while all these big heads are sitting there with their $40 million a year and all this other crap, and they don't care. So, the sympathy needs to be behind the people who actually provide you the entertainment. The fat cats who get to put their name on it after and have absolutely nothing to do with it being made and have no creative talent and couldn't bring a good film to you if they tried without the writers and the actors, well, they're the ones who, you don't need to be supporting them. Seriously.
That's the bottom line. Well, we'll just have to hopefully wait and see that, some sort of agreement comes to pass. Because I mean, it's getting thin.
It's going to have to happen at some point, but honestly, I don't see it happening this year. I've told you that. I'm fingers crossed and I'm praying, but I honestly think early next year is probably what we're looking at.
Ask Joni to tell you what I said. I said virtually the same thing you said. I said damn near verbatim what you just said. Because I just had that feeling. So we'll just have to wait. Coming up next, we got some sports talk for you right after this.
Listening to stuff has never been so enjoyable. If you had the misfortune to have been born after 1990, then you missed out on a lot of cool stuff. Then Is Now podcast is here to remedy that. Join Rigor and his dedicated band of rotating hosts as they tackle pop culture of the past and how it relates today. From celebrity interviews to film and TV discussion and beyond, Then Is Now podcast brings you up to speed on all the cool stuff that you should know about. Plus, the East meets the West. If you enjoy movies that have lots of shooting and fighting, then there's a whole world of films out there that you don't even know about. Join our hosts on a journey as they discuss the amazing kung fu films of the Shaw Brothers and Western films made in Italy that have become known as spaghetti westerns. Action, adventure, kung fu fighting. Both shows and more can be found at havenpodcasts.com. Warning, may cause nostalgic feelings and eliminate boredom.
Does it cause nostalgic feelings and eliminate boredom?
It does for me. I mean, I was a big fan of all those horrible, martial arts films and stuff that they showed every Saturday morning on, what was it, KTLA after the morning cartoons. So I loved watching those as a kid. So that does bring back memories for me.
Oh, man. We got some sports to chat with you guys about today, including WWE had a great loss just yesterday, actually. And we were actually at the Hollywood Museum. I got home and I saw this on my social media feed, and I couldn't believe it. Wyndham Rotunda, also known as Bray Wyatt in the WWE, passed away at the age of 36 yesterday. He had a sudden heart attack. That was the cause of his passing, something that none of us expected. Bray Wyatt was an incredible talent to the WWE. He actually was set. Many people theorized that he was set to take over for The Undertaker. Now that The Undertaker has retired from wrestling, he was set to take over during a segment in WWE a few months ago. There was a moment where Bray Wyatt and The Undertaker were face to face. And Undertaker walked up to him, whispered something in his ear, kind of, in a sense, passing the torch on to him. and walked out of the ring and out of the arena in his motorcycle and left Bray Wyatt standing there. To this day, nobody really knows what Undertaker whispered in his ear. This is between him and Bray Wyatt. But unfortunately, this actually is very, very hard for a lot of wrestling fans that Bray Wyatt passed away. Something that nobody expected at all. 36 years old, nobody would have expected it. According to reports, it seems that Bray was battling an undisclosed illness at the time, and a lot of people say that he caught COVID, which activated some sort of a heart condition that he had, which may have caused the heart attack that happened. He was also he comes from a long line of wrestlers, one of which many of us know from the 80s, IRS, Erwin R. Shyster, who teamed up with the $1 Million Man in the 80s. That was his father. That was Bray Wyatt's father. He also has a brother as well that also wrestled. Many people went ahead and reached out, including John Cena. Went ahead and posted as saying, quote, "Devastated by the news of the passing of Wyndham Rotunda. My heart goes out to the entire Rotunda family. Wyndham brought the best out of me in so many ways. I'm forever grateful for the moments we shared. A sad day for all those he reached around the world. Rest in peace." Another wrestler, Braun Strowman, went ahead, who is also the godfather to one of Bray Wyatt's children's, said, "8 years ago today, I joined you as your black sheep. If I knew only on eight short years later, I would have to say goodbye. I sure as hell wouldn't have taken so much for granted. You were my best friend, my mentor, my big little brother, my brother of destruction. You were there for all my highs and my lows, as I was for yours. You taught me so many things in the business that we shared and loved, and you taught me so much in life. You truly made me a better person. I was so honored the day I found you were having Nash Boy, and you asked me to be his godfather. I love you, Hoot." I honestly cannot even begin to express how shocked I was. I mean, we just lost legendary wrestler Terry Funk earlier this year at the age of 72, which that right there, I mean, no death is ever truly expected. But I mean, at the age of 72, we think, okay, he lived a great life. But 36 years old, that's something that, I mean, I can't wrap my head around something like that.
No, it's always incredibly tragic when we lose, an athlete and an entertainer, somebody with that much talent at such a young age. And it's tragic when anybody young, passes, because they've, as you just said, they didn't get that full long life that everybody wants for the people they care about. This is just brutal. It really is. What are you supposed to say? This guy was, as you said, he's not even an up and comer. He's established, but was basically on the path to be one of their torchbearers. That's the type of talent he had and the personality that he had. And truthfully, I've heard a lot of the stories. There's always a lot of the backroom stories. And nowadays when guys retire, they're all doing the podcasts. So they're all dishing dirt, they're all spilling the tea. And there's no Bray Wyatt stories. Nobody talks about him rubbing people the wrong way. Nobody talks about him, working too stiff and having to get a receipt and get popped or something, or causing drama backstage, or, being a little bitch, whatever it is. You never heard that stuff about him. This was a guy that people loved to work with, that they loved wrestling with, they loved having around, and to lose him so young is an absolute tragedy. I can't imagine how the WWE family is dealing right now, but that's a tough one.
Definitely is. JC Strickland went ahead and post. Rotunda was also known as Michael McGillicuddy in NXT's early years. That said, to lose a gifted talent so young is a hard shot to WWE and to the sports entertainment community. It's crazy because so many people, because he hasn't been on WWE television for a very long time. Again, he was going through some undisclosed illness and everything, and everybody was expecting him to come back. They were everybody has been expecting him to come back and do huge things. I mean, he's a 3-time world champion, and he was just so enigmatic. His stories, the way he told his stories from the Bryant family, from the Wyatt family, to the Fiend, and so many other characters that he had. He was already starting to develop another character. He was just an enigmatic character in the WWE, which is what we lost when we lost The Undertaker to retirement. You know, we needed a new version of The Undertaker, and now no more. It's just sad. It's just a sad day in wrestling, to be honest with you. And our condolences go to the Rotunda family and every single WWE fan who was affected by this great loss in wrestling. Definitely that. In other sports news, Bronny James gets test results back. I mean, talk about heart conditions. This is actually good news, actually, that happened here, Jeremy.
It is. See, Bronny James got his results back from the heart tests that they did. If you don't know, Bronny James was at practice at USC. His freshman year is just starting there, and he had a heart attack. 18 years old, and he had a heart attack right there on the court. And the tests have shown that he actually has a congenital heart defect. He was born with a heart defect. The doctors have said that it is a, let me see, where is it? It is an anatomically and functionally significant congenital heart defect, which can and will be treated. We are very confident in Bronny's full recovery and a return to basketball in the very near future. Now, congenital heart defects have come a long way. You know that my writing partner from When I Wished Upon a Star, Dr. Brandon Phillips, has a congenital heart defect. He is a heart warrior, along with many, many other people who have worked through this. The advances that they have come to medically for these type of problems has advanced so much in the last 20 years that it's not shocking that they can treat this, and hopefully he'll be able to move on with his career and still be able to compete. And, I don't just say that because, man, USC's basketball team could use him. It would be
because at that point, UCLA rules on that one. I gotta get something there.
If things keep going the way they're going, we might actually get competitive soon. But I can't say we'll overtake UCLA basketball, but we could maybe be competitive again. But it's just really cool to see that these things have that the technology and the treatments have advanced enough that this isn't going to completely, or most likely will not, destroy this kid's career. So
that's good news.
It's really good news, and it may take him a while to get back. He may have to have some surgery. You never know what they're going to have to do specifically to correct this heart defect or to treat it. But I'm glad that this hopefully will not affect. It doesn't look like this will affect his future in basketball.
And on that note, that's the news. In case you haven't heard it, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us here on the Navarro-Miller Report. We have a 3-day weekend, right? Is it Labor Day? I think it's Labor Day.
I'm the wrong person to ask.
Tell us. I believe it's Labor Day. That because it's always like, what is it? It's the last day of the summer, I believe. It's always Labor Day, I believe. So anyways, regardless, everybody go ahead and have a wonderful weekend. We will be back on here again next Friday from 6 to 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm sorry, Labor Day is next weekend. I was just told I'm a week early.
There you go.
Anyways, thanks again, everybody, for joining us here on the Navarro-Miller Report. Again, we will be back here again next Friday from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I will be back on the air on Monday. I have a special guest, musical artist Amanda Holly will be my guest on the ride home with Dave Navarro on Dead Dork Radio. So make sure you tune in for that. But as it stands, I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend. I'm your host, Dave Navarro, along with this USC piece of hi. How you doing? I love him so much.
I'm Jeremy Miller. Fight on, baby.
We will see everybody here next time, right here on the Navarro-Miller Report. We'll see you guys all next time. Have a good night, everybody.
You have been listening to the Navarro-Miller Report.
This episode of the Navarro-Miller Report was brought to you by the Dorkening Podcast Network and sponsored by Deadly Grounds Coffee.